Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, rounds off the 2023 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign in Pietermaritzburg. And the Israeli army has called for the military campaign in Gaza to be stepped up. A very good afternoon. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you very much for tuning in. You're watching The Week Ahead. You can interact with us on social media platforms. It's @WeekAhead, and our hashtag is The Week Ahead. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabala. Now, leading our bulletin this hour, Bahurutsi Bahamuila Foundation, a community-based organization against gender-based violence, says the 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children has been a long-sung melody, yet domestic violence-related crimes are continuing. The foundation says poverty and financial support are among factors making women stay in abusive relationships and marriages.
The Bafuruti Bahamuilwa Foundation empowers women to have independence and not rely on abusive partners for survival. The foundation was founded by Khosana Khaungwalelwe Muilwa from the Bafuruti Bahamuilwa royal family. This after the royal family received numerous calls for intervention from women who were victims of domestic abuse. Meanwhile, the police crime statistics indicate that between July and September this year, 1,536 cases of domestic violence were recorded in the province, with over 1,000 of them being of assault, 49 cases of rape, 11 of murder, and 4 of attempted murder were also recorded. Muilwa says women must be empowered to walk away from abuse.
There are challenges in our community. Women are the most who are got challenges. Yes, the husband, they fight with them. Some of our boyfriend, they give them kids, they don't come back to them, and then that's what we are facing in our kingdom. But finally, we found that we can help these poor people.
Muilwa reached to the Foundation for Human Rights to assist them, and the foundation heeded her call. They provide agriculture training to women who are vulnerable to being victims of domestic violence and GBV.
We train the women who are in this organization in permaculture and agroecology skills, which is a sustainable way of planting food, which is environmentally friendly. We did capacity building training with them. We do monitor and do site visits to help them where they need help, but also across beneficiaries, there's also a way of knowledge exchange and information sharing. And then we just facilitate the whole process of them growing their food, where they are in the different stages. It's a 3-year program, so we oversee the whole program. We do grant making also, because the Ford Foundation is supporting the program.
One of the women who is a beneficiary of the program is 34-year-old Mudiegi Tladi, who says the backyard food garden has changed her life. This garden helps me put food on the table. It also helps me to pay school fees for my child. It also enables me to assist women who are unemployed and those who are victims of abuse, so that they too can be able to provide for themselves and be independent. Women are encouraged to seek opportunities that will empower them and encourage them not to stay in abusive relationships due to depending on their abusers. Selwane Khachau, SABC News, Musweu Village, outside Zeerast.
Police will work with communities to curb various crimes such as armed robbery, illegal mining and GBV. Now, this is according to Police Deputy Minister Kasal Matale. He was addressing a crime prevention operation in Ruetan in Limpopo yesterday.
This is part of our national program of interacting with communities. We have been in Naisna on Thursday talking to the community of Naisna on the role they can play in the fight against crime. Today we are here in Rutang, a farming community. The people you see here, that this township was produced by the farms around this area, and it's one of the far-flung areas in the country that sometimes people think we don't care about them. So we're here to say to them, we know they exist, we know they're here, we want to work with them to respond to the challenges that they are confronted with. In this case is the fight against crime.
We are on the ground, active. We're making sure that we're policing our malls. We're making sure that together with traffic, we are manning all our routes because we want to make sure that there's route security. We avoid the issues of the truck hijacking. We want to minimize that because this time is prevalent. The consignment for the trucks is being taken, but then we are making good inroads in that. We have been arrested a number of syndicates, groupings that have been dealing with the carjackings, particularly in Sekhukhune area and also in Mopani area.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, countries at the COP28 summit in Dubai have clashed over a possible agreement to phase out fossil fuels. This is jeopardizing attempts to deliver a first-ever commitment to eventually end the use of oil and gas in 30 years of global warming talks.
Observers in the negotiations said Saudi Arabia and Russia were among several countries insisting the conference focus only on reducing climate pollution and not on targeting fossil fuels. At least 80 countries, including the US, European Union, and many poor, climate-vulnerable nations, are demanding a COP28 deal that calls clearly for an eventual end to fossil fuel use.
Mr. President, these COPs have been going on for a very long time.
An official with the oil-producing group OPEC addressed delegates.
Ultimately, this all energy, all people, and all technologies approach need to be in adherence to the principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities.
Earlier this week, OPEC sent a letter urging its members and allies to reject any mention of fossil fuels in the final deal. The letter was criticized by the EU's climate commissioner.
It is clear that by many, including by me, that has been seen as out of whack, as unhelpful.
Other countries, including India and China, have not explicitly endorsed a fossil fuel phase-out, but have backed a popular call for boosting renewable energy. China's top climate diplomat described this year's climate summit as the hardest in his career. Climate-vulnerable countries said a rejection of a fossil fuel mention at COP28 would threaten the entire world.
The science tells us that these commitments are crucial.
A sentiment echoed by protesters in Dubai.
And we're here to say how mega corporations and fossil fuels industry is melting the planet. We're here to defend and phase out fossil fuels.
COP28's president told nations on Saturday to speed up their work, saying there were currently more areas of divergence than agreement.
The window is closing to close the gaps.
The summit is scheduled to end on Tuesday.
Now, Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, rounds off the 2023 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign in Pietermaritzburg today. Umgungundlovu is one of the districts enlisted as the GBVF hotspots in KZN. Now, this is following the recent crime stats released by the Ministry of Police, with eThekwini Metro having recorded 5,117 cases of gender-based violence, followed by Umgungundlovu district with 1,689 cases. This was between July and September of 2023. SABC News reporter Nonhlakanipho Magwaza joins us live now for an update. Nonhlakanipho, let's start with just the choice of a location. I mean, it's most certainly significant to close off the campaign there. Just paint a picture for us of the extent of the scourge of GBV in that area.
Good afternoon. Yes, that's why they chose this area. It's because of the high number of GBV cases. Earlier on this morning, men, community members, maidens, they marched to this area just to raise awareness of the scourge of gender-based violence here in this area. Earlier on, I also spoke to the KZN Premier, Unomusa Tube, and she said that the reason that there's a high scourge in this area is because of the high and levels of unemployment, especially with women, and the dependency that they have on men. That leads to gender-based violence. We also got a chance to speak to the minister in the presidency, Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who also said that the dependency of women in men is also the reason why there's a high level of gender-based violence here in this area. She also said that it's not just the end or the closure of the 16 days of activism, but it's also they are also launching a 365-day campaign nationally of gender-based violence, because they can't just fight gender-based violence within 16 days. It has to be an ongoing thing. And with me here is District Mayor Mr. Zuma, who will tell us more about his district here, Umgungundlovu, since it's his district that has the high number of gender-based violence. Mr. Zuma, we understand you've launched the 365 days of gender-based violence here in Umgungundlovu, and it's also listed as one of the districts with a high number of gender-based violence. In your opinion, what could be the reason for this rise in gender-based violence?
No, thank you very much. Firstly, let's really appreciate that the Minister and the Premier brought the program to our district today. As you have correctly indicated, we are second in the province in terms of the GBV cases after eThekwini. That could have to do with the numbers that we have as a district. We're a district with 1.1 million in terms of the population. We must indicate that, of course, we believe that the socio-economic conditions in the districts could have an impact on these kind of numbers. But our message is clear to say that irrespective of the socio-economic conditions, there is no justification for directing violence to women and children in the manner that it is happening in the district. And that is why we have established various forums within the district, which include the traditional leadership, faith-based organizations, civil society, and various government departments and entities at various levels. We do need to strengthen those structures. At what level? They are at least operational at local or municipal level and at a district level. But where we need to intensify the functioning of these structures and their response to GBV cases is really at a ward level. And that's why we want to really call upon all the structures, the traditional leadership, our councillors, faith-based organizations, civil society at ward level, to be a strong bulwark, against this scourge. And we believe that the president was correct to characterize GBV as a pandemic of our times. So we need to rise as various structures in our communities. But our message also to communities, as the 365 days was launched today, was that the campaign and the posture that we must take must start at the level of families. Families must not be tolerable to any form of violence against women and children. If we want to build a stable society, a stable country, it should begin with building stable families where there is no violence, where violence is not tolerated. At the level of communities, we must not really tolerate anybody, any individual, any organization any behavior that we see that would be undermining women, but directing violence against women and children. And if we then create those particular platforms and we create that awareness at the level of the family, of the communities, then we are going to make headways in terms of dealing with this particular sketch. But we also want just to emphasize the point, in line with the launch of the 365 days, that it is proper that today we are closing 16 days of activism against violence directed to women and children. We want to say to our communities, this really should be an ongoing campaign. It should be a day-to-day campaign that we are focusing on a 365 days kind of horizon, so that we are able to arrest this sketch moving forward. Women and children have equal rights that should be enjoyed, that they should enjoy like every other human being in the society. Responsible men should know that any form of violence, any form of harassment of women, it's something that we should distance ourselves from, and we should take a position, make personal pledges as men, then go to our organizations to say enough is enough. No violence should be meted against women and children moving forward.
Thank you so much, Mayor. That was District Mayor Mr. Zuma outlining programs that they have to end or to fight the scourge of gender-based violence here in his district in Umgungundlovu. He's also reiterating what civil society said, that 16 days of activism is not enough. It should be 365 days. It should be fought all year round, because if it stopped at 16 days, it would be like going back a step back, because all the other days people will just go back to living as normal.
It must be 365 days. Nonhlakanipho, thank you very much for that reportage. That's our reporter Nonhlakanipho Magwaza out in Pietermaritzburg at the official event to close off the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children campaign. More news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. The Israeli army has called for the military campaign in Gaza to be stepped up. More pictures have emerged on Israel's social media showing Palestinians apparently surrendering to Israeli forces in northern Gaza. Meanwhile, the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has accused the United States of being complicit in war crimes after it vetoed a Security Council resolution calling for immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
There were more Israeli strikes in the Gaza Strip on Saturday after the United States vetoed an immediate humanitarian ceasefire at the UN Security Council on Friday.
We regretfully could not support it.
13 of the Security Council's 15 members voted for the resolution.
But we cannot vote in
Britain abstained. Riyad Mansour, the Palestinian UN envoy, said they reject the result.
Ceasefire. Ceasefire. Save lives.
Since the truce collapsed last week, Israel has expanded its ground campaign into the southern half of the Gaza Strip, storming the main southern city of Khan Yunis. Residents of the city said on Saturday that Israeli forces were ordering people out of another district just west of positions the Israelis stormed earlier this week, suggesting a further assault could be imminent. Both sides have also reported a major surge in fighting in the north. The vast majority of Gaza's 2.3 million residents have already been forced from their homes. UN agencies say there is now effectively nowhere safe to go. Israel disputes that. It says it is limiting harm to civilians by providing them with maps showing areas that are safe. It also blames Hamas for causing civilian deaths by hiding among them. Hamas fighters deny that claim.
There does remain a gap between exactly.
Washington has said it told Israel to do more to protect civilians in the next phase of the war than it has so far. But Washington has continued to support Israel's insistence that a ceasefire would only benefit Hamas.
We shift our focus to this story now. The Telebridge border gate between Sterkspruit and the Eastern Cape and Lesotho has become the latest entry point for illegal crossing for Lesotho nationals using the river into the country. The border gate is also a den for crime where women have been allegedly sexually assaulted crossing the river, while bogus traditional leaders are selling land to Lesotho nationals.
This is Telebridge border gate in Sterkspruit in the Eastern Cape. Many people from the neighboring Lesotho country use this gate to gain entry into the Eastern Cape province. But many illegally cross this river through illegal means. Women fall victims of criminal activities happening in the river. They are allegedly carried across the river by young men that are making business here. Disagreements over payments often erupt between the male aiders and women, and sexual exploitation takes place. Those failing to pay are allegedly dumped in the middle of the river.
They have to strip their clothes off and be carried by a foreign man who is not related to them. So already the dignity around those women is also exposed. Hence the sexual exploitation takes place, the fees change across the stream when they are crossing over. So for us, we are trying to say, this is not only affecting us in terms of cross-border crime. The Lesotho women become victims of this instance because we don't see numbers of RSA females crossing over to Lesotho for any economic activities. It is largely from their side into our side. So during summer season, as it is now approaching, raining and so forth, that becomes a very rife. It happens in the sunset, it happens in evening, it happens at night times. If the moon is up, they will still continue those operations.
For these Lesotho young men, illegally ferrying people across the river is a business for them.
If you want to cross the river, we carry you across the stream and then you pay us 20 rand. But if you have a luggage, it is 50 rand. Oh yeah, it's not negotiable. It is 20 rand or 50 rand. It's our job.
Some people have allegedly died in the process of crossing the river. More than 50 unknown bodies were collected into the forensic pathology health facility in Tlokweng, bordering Lesotho and Eastern Cape. These bodies have remained unclaimed.
Yes, indeed, they've collected over 50 unknown bodies in the area, but those bodies have since been dispatched to the two districts. They were over 50, in fact 53 to be exact. Autopsies have already been conducted, and all the cases are the subject of a police investigation.
More than 100 kilometers from Sterkspruit, it's another border, Kachasnek, bordering Lesotho and Matatiele in the Eastern Cape. Here, people from Lesotho are allegedly flocking in numbers and have allegedly occupied the land, with some villages even referred to as Lesotho. Traditional leaders are also suspicious of how some of them have acquired the country's citizenship.
Those that have IDs, they do benefit because some of them, they got IDs from Department of Home Affairs. We don't know how do they get that, but suspiciously, they bought those IDs. And then you'll find that there's another traditional leader, there's another person who's calling himself a king of this area. He's an unrecognized king of this area.
Matatiele seems to be the preferred place for those crossing the border illegally, while locals believe the town is getting overpopulated.
I'll
never allow that. The Basotho people cannot be forced to stay in Lesotho forever. Matatiele can accommodate the people of Lesotho. They must come this side. Matatiele is their land.
endaweni encinci kangaka. Kungayenziwa ingqithi koobhontsi benyawo. No, that will never happen. These people have enough land in Lesotho. The only thing they want in South Africa is to benefit from the resources, and they have an access to social growth. This must be attended to, otherwise it will cause instability.
There are also informal talks of a proposal to incorporate Matatiele and other areas under Lesotho. A meeting is scheduled for next week between Matatiele residents and Lesotho nationals to further discuss the proposal. I'm Kululeko Nyembezi, SABC News, Eastern Cape.
The African Peer Review Mechanism will have its main 20th anniversary celebrations from the 10th to the 14th of December of 2023. This is in Johannesburg and Sandton. The 20th anniversary of the APRM will be celebrated through a series of meetings and events under the theme Accelerating and Deepening Governance Reform, Measures and Intervention. The mechanism serves as an African-owned and African-led platform for self-assessment, peer learning and experience sharing in democracy and good governance. We're joined now by Professor Eddie Maluka, CEO of APRM. Professor, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for having us here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So it's 20 years. It's a significant milestone for the APRM. Just for the benefit of those who might not be all that knowledgeable on the mandate of this instrument or mechanism, talk us through its purpose.
The APRM, African Peer Review Mechanism, was set up by the presidents of Africa themselves. You remember there was a time when we were talking about the new crop of leaders in Africa who were saying Africa must take responsibility for its development, for its future. And then they identified that one of the things that have made it difficult for Africa to advance in the past is governance. And the challenges are also at the level of leaders themselves. So they created this body of leaders called the African Peer Review Mechanism. And what they said is that we should start with ourselves and we should review each other, give each other feedback. And they created, of course, they asked the Continental Secretariat, but they also created a panel of eminent persons that conducts these reviews. And these reports, when they come out, they are presented to leaders themselves, and then they debate it among themselves. They give each other feedback, and then afterwards we go back and work with the country now to implement the recommendation, because these reports, they come up with recommendations, and the principles that guide our work is, of course, the work must be done scientifically must be done independently without political interference. So our reports are quite rigorous and I believe quite helpful to countries, especially even the process. The way we conduct the reviews is that when a country joins, it also creates a national APRM structure. So we mobilize women, youth, the private sector when we do the reviews in a country. We've just completed a review in Togo and also another one in Zambia now. Our reviews are quite extensive as an exercise.
Now, Professor, over the course of the 20 years, several scholars have observed the progress, and some of them have viewed the APRM as an ineffective mechanism, and basing this on the several coups on the continent, going as far as saying that you have a crop of African leaders that steer clear of neighbors' governance issues, using the need to respect a country's sovereignty as some sort of a veil or shield to avoid holding their peers accountable. Your views on all the criticism on this particular mechanism?
No, I do understand. Of course, people will be quite skeptical of the work or what can be achieved through a multilateral exercise. I emphasize this point that the APRM is a multilateral body, so it's not an opposition party, it's not a civil society, it's not an NGO. So it's a mechanism created by countries themselves to help each other. So we work within the framework of the sovereignty of states. So we don't go into countries and conduct ourselves in a manner that the country will not want to engage with you. So you have countries that are quite active and moving fast on APRM issues. Then you have in the middle those that are in and out, and then you have at the bottom end countries that still require more time to work. And so you have to work with the sovereignty of states, unfortunately. That's the nature of the multilateral exercise. And you have to work with those that are ready, and those that are not ready yet, you must continue to engage them to try to also to get them to a certain level of readiness. And overall, I think we have done quite a lot. I mean, it started with 6 countries. Now we're at 44 countries. And when countries succeed, majority of them take the work of the APRM seriously. But we are not a preventive mechanism. And what we're, so it doesn't, the APRM APRM doesn't stop a country from undertaking a coup, but in the coup-related instances, all of them are governance-related. So that's why now, in the African Union family, there is a greater acceptance now of governance as a prevention matter, to say that you need to emphasize governance, you need to build institutions, you need to deal with constitutionality, you need to deal with the rule of law. Because when you have those things, aggrieved parties or sectors in society, they don't resort to coups, they can use the constitutional provisions. So governance is a preventive matter. That's why now one of the meetings that are happening now as part of these celebrations, there is a meeting between the African Peer Review Mechanism Panel of Eminent Persons and the African Union Panel of the Wise, because the Panel of the Wise is the one that undertakes the mediation, intervenes in countries, and so the APRM, we don't do that. We do the reviews, we come up with these reports, and we present these reports to African Union institution, and we say, these reports, use them as early warning, and so on and so on. And now there's a great acceptance, now increasing acceptance of the importance of APRM in this respect, in this as an early warning mechanism. And now we are now going to be discussing this afternoon coordination of the work between the panel of the APRM and also the panel of the WISE of the African Union, to be able to address, to say operational and in practice, how do we do it? How do you use governance as a prevention matter? Because the challenges that are there, like of course, are essentially challenges of governance. Even the economic issues, the root cause to economic challenges is issues around governance.
But is there appetite among the member states to perhaps amend the powers of the APRM? Because, like I say, the criticism has been quite a lot as to its powers and its ability to hold some of these leaders accountable.
No, you don't need to. APRM, we've got, like myself, I don't feel... I go to countries, I've even been to countries that have undertaken coups, and those countries are talking to us, they ask us, come and help us here, come and... Even some they've written, they are expecting us to come. We don't have any hindrance to our work, it's just the methodology is different, so we don't protest in the streets, we don't write just a report about a country. So when you write a report about a country, we work through the APRM process, we give you our feedback, you respond, we engage you, and then we then afterwards then come back to you and work with you on implementation. APRM is effective. And like, for example, the one minister of Sierra Leone, we did a review in Sierra Leone, and one of the issues that we came out with was the state of the public service. So immediately after the election, the president established, for the first time in Sierra Leone, a Minister of Public Service and Administration. And now we are working with the Minister of Public Service Administration now to institute civil service reforms. So we send teams of countries there, South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, Uganda, to go and work with the colleagues in Sierra Leone now, assisting them with the establishment of proper civil service institutions, and then also instituting these reforms, including School of Government and quite a number of things, assessment of public servants. So it's quite concrete, the things that we're doing, but sometimes I get a sense that our colleagues who don't see the value in the work that we're doing, they expect us to be in the streets with civil society, writing reports, calling government's name. That's not how we work. But read at our reports. You will see how thorough our reports are. They are quite thorough, and they are quite, you could say, even hard-hitting, but countries embrace the reports, because when you write them, we work with them on these reports, and then we work with them also on the implementation of these reports. Our reports are not sweetheart love letters. They are quite hard-hitting. So you have to look at our reports,
No, that's quite comforting to hear. Professor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That is Professor Eddie Maluka speaking to us there. He's the CEO of the APRM. To this story now, young people from different countries visited the Green Zone at COP28 in Dubai. The Green Zone is an area where different countries are participating with the aim of promoting the green economy. SABC News International editor Sophie Mkwena spoke to some of those who were at the event.
Music serenading those who visited the Green Zone. Let's take a look at what is happening here at the Green Zone, particularly focusing on young people. A beautiful Green Zone. You are here. What are you doing? What's happening here?
Okay, so actually we have here in the action point, it's like an advice that we give people who are visiting us. This advice is for them to change their daily routine using some stuff that are very friendly to the environment. So for example, if you are a kind of person who's actually using the toothbrush, you can switch and use the sustainable materials, like an eco-friendly toothbrush. And if you are a kind of person who like to read lots of books and you don't know how to do what to do with your books, you can donate your books. So here is an example of the books. You can donate the books instead of throwing them. Actually, there is also a device. We know people like a lot to use the perfume and the chalk. So instead of using the perfume, you can use actually natural essential oils, which will save the environment. Also, we are advising people who like to read lots and who like to take lots of notes to use iPad instead of using lots of books and throw the paper. So here is another advice of using the iPad instead of using lots of books and then throw all that papers. So they are small steps, and we are always believe if you would like to change anything, you have to start with the small points. Another example we have that we are always encourage people to take the food products that are from the local products. That will encourage the farmer and the local farmer to produce more vegetable and fruit to save and this will help them to have a sustainable life.
Ndubulela letuba ndilifi mnyolukuba mtete nani la khlamja igama la Mungu Riam Barnard. I'm here in UAE. I'm actually from Cape Town, and when I saw SABC, I was like, it's my people. I have to say hello. So yeah, I'm here at the COP28, amazing place to raise awareness about sustainability. And at the moment, I'm actually at the youth exhibition where they encourage youth to sustain the nature and the environment to prolong the future, and also they're coming up with amazing initiatives, amazing ideas and informative ways of getting the message out there to take action, also to unite, and also to there was another point that's like to get together and make it work for the future. So it's an amazing place. It's amazing to see you guys here also showing the South Africans what is being done in the UAE.
You heard from a South African who is visiting this area, the youth area. But let's get more information. What's happening here? Such nice pictures. What's the story?
So my name is Hind Al Ali. I'm a member of the Youth Council from the Youth Hub here in COP 28. And I want to talk to you about the inspiration point. So basically what we did here is we brought youth from all around the world that is working on projects that is regarding the environment and how to save planet Earth. Their aim and their goal is to make their project aligns with the global objectives and objectives to build a sustainable future for future generations.
And here, the writing here?
The writing here explains what we did and what our youth is doing and how we combined different youth from all around the world to come up here and be part of COP28 regarding the environment and how to be sustainable.
Are you receiving many young people here?
Definitely. We always receive young people, whether it's about environment or other projects regarding youth.
And you just met a South African. You told me you want to visit South Africa.
Definitely, definitely. I'm in love with the nature, with the safari, the weather. Everything is beautiful in Africa. And definitely, I would definitely visit one day.
You'll visit which areas? Where do you want to go in South Africa?
I want to go to Africa, like the whole continent. But I don't think I would have the chance. So maybe Cape Town, Kenya. And your place?
My place. It's a small town, Frankfurt in the Free State, very small.
I love small towns and I love big towns and I love everywhere in Africa.
Thank you, thank you. There you have it. We are talking to young people. We've given the voice to senior politicians. Let's talk to ordinary young people because it is all about the next generation. Green, green, green automobile joining the campaign. What's happening here?
So this is an electric car, fully electric, based on the 1967 Fastback Mustang. So we took an iconic shape from the 1967 Fastback Ford Mustang and we built everything from the ground up. So it's fully electric and brand new.
And then that other one, it looks so expensive.
It is. So it starts at $450,000 US. and it goes up from there depending on how you customize it. All cars are fully bespoke, so you can do everything you want with it, inside and outside. And yeah, hand built in London. So it's not mass production, it's built to order, and they're limited. So we're only doing 499, and then we'll stop producing them.
From the United Kingdom.
Correct, yeah, in London.
There you have it, electric car, very, very beautiful, but of course, very, very expensive. You can see the battery inside. So you can still have a beautiful car, but the one that is using a battery. The United Arab Emirates has used the green zone, as you can see, to market the country. The country has been able to showcase all the products that are available in this country, sending a message that the country is ready to continue to strengthen its relations with other countries, particularly on issues that are related to trade and investment. Sophie Mukwena at the Green Zone, Dubai.
Welcome back. Tertiary students who fall in the so-called missing middle will be funded in the 2024 academic year. Now, this is according to Minister Blade Zimande. He told Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education that nearly 4 billion rand has been raised for this category of students.
The missing middle are students with parents or guardians who earn above the threshold for funding from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, but not enough to put them through varsity or college. The department made a plan to cover this group for 2024.
We've raised 3.8 billion rands, and our figures actually tells us that money will go a long way in addressing the missing middle in terms of the latest actuarial statistics that we have. If we are calculating it, families not earning more than 600,000 rand per annum.
There were protests at 11 public tertiary institutions at the beginning of the year. Funding consistently featured among their top grievances. The department is engaging with stakeholders to minimize this next year.
As a department, we identified all the hotspots. We've identified all the hotspots often associated with certain institutions and certain problems where issues have not been adequately addressed, so that we are able to be better prepared on accommodation, accreditation, funding decisions, exchange of registration data, amongst others.
Both the department and members of parliament have raised concerns about the envisaged budget cuts by National Treasury and how it will affect the sector. Zelene Merrington, SABC News, Parliament.
Mahika Mahikeng, the Northwest's annual musical festival, continues to grow in leaps and bounds. It has attracted thousands of revelers from as far as the neighbouring Botswana, Northern Cape, Free State as well as Gauteng. The festival is a major boost for local businesses, especially in the food and beverages industry. Food outlets are grateful that the festival did not only support their businesses, but also gave them much-needed exposure. Mpoli Bedi and video journalist Silo Mogopa attended one of the events of the 4-day-long festival.
A festival got many on their feet and dancing to some scintillating tunes. This is one of the most attended music events in the province, presenting opportunities to small businesses, especially in the food and beverage industry. This is Kabelo Kalibe, a private chef who has even showcased his cooking skills in countries like Dubai. Now he is back home, serving the most delicious delicacies, hoping for more exposure.
Number one, created jobs for more than 45 people that have said, I'd rather give a good service than keep the money, but I made sure that I'm actually feeding families throughout this December, so whatever that will be left here, we will distribute and share amongst.
This man behind the grill is all smiles, saying business is doing well during the festival.
The business is going so fine because I took an opportunity, I saw an opportunity to buy a stall for Mahikeng, and I did exactly that, and I'm making a killing today.
For the authorities, a mission is being accomplished.
This festival is meant to inject the economy into the area of Mahikeng and surroundings. I'm sure you will check for yourselves. All the lodges, all the hotels are fully booked. The shops are busy, and surely the economy is basically growing. A lot of people have got stalls around the areas, the stadium.
Inside the venue, some lyrical vibes with a touch of amapiano music genre were dished out to the loud cheers of revelers.
For me to know this lady,
yes,
I knew this lady through Casper, when Casper was still staying with me.
Yeah, long time ago.
A long time ago. I don't want people coming here. I said to Fifi, you are signed by me. You are part of Impact Sound. I groomed this little girl.
Oh, Mahikeng is a definite success, a definite success. Let me tell you, Mumzulu, man. So to be engulfed so much in the Tswana culture and what it's about, as a Zulu person, it's a learning experience. I get to experience fans that love the music. So it definitely was a success.
The 4-day festival ends on Sunday. Mpolipedi, SABC News, Mahikeng.
Let's take you to Springs now, where over 400 miners remain underground at the Goldwand Motor East operations. The miners were last seen on Thursday when they reported for an evening shift at the mine and have not resurfaced. The current underground sit-in is taking place in solidarity with the dismissed workers who were fired for taking part in the first 3-day sit-in during October.
Some of the miners gathered at the main entrance of the mine to show support for their fellow colleagues who they feel are fighting the good fight underground.
So what we found out from them is that they are complaining about the dismissal of staff members. They are complaining about people who are suspended for them to be reinstated. They are asking for a cancellation of the suspensions and those that are dismissed.
The impact of this protest has caused great concern for the local community.
It's devastating to see the effect that it's got on the community. The community are really, our hearts are broken because these are our people, these are our neighbors, our friends, our family members that are underneath the ground.
The severity of this has had a dreadful impact on family members. This elderly woman, who is a mother to one of the mine workers underground, came to the mine to seek answers about her son's whereabouts.
I last spoke to Patrick on Thursday morning. He went to work that evening, and since then I haven't spoken to my child. Patrick is the one taking care of our home. He's my only son. He left his wife and kids at home. As you can see, I'm walking on crutches. He's the one that provides for me. There's no head of house at home. He's the head of the house. So I, as his mother, you can see I'm rusty. He's taking care of me, so when I don't see him, I couldn't sleep at night. Since then, I have not eaten, I haven't had water, I'm unable to swallow water. I think about my only son, so I'm pleading with Goldwand management to tell me where my son is, because when I call his cell phone, it doesn't work. I want to know where my son is, because his wife asked me what should I do in a situation like this. So I end up getting up and coming to Goldwand, because I want to know where my son is.
The time is ticking for the mine workers underground with little to no food and water. How long the underground sit-in will continue is everyone's guess. And with tensions between the two rival unions, AMCU and NUM, still high, family members are hoping that their loved ones will all come out alive. Others want government to step in as episodes of underground sit-ins continue to spread across mining houses. Mpumelelo Mapalala, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, still on matters pertaining to mine workers, engagements between Bakubung Platinum Mine Management and the National Union of Mine Workers to address issues raised by disgruntled miners will commence tomorrow. This after the mine management issued a statement committing to engage the union and find an amicable solution to the impasse between the employer and unions. SABC News reporter Ofense Motimo has more.
All disgruntled mine workers affiliated to the National Union of Mine Workers, who staged the sit-in at Bakubung Platinum Mine since last Wednesday, resurfaced after 11 o'clock on Friday night. This follows an engagement the union had with the mine management through a virtual meeting on Friday morning and a subsequent statement by the mine committing to address most of the issues that have been raised with the mine from next week Monday. Among the striking miners' demands is the abolishing of the mine's discrimination policies towards pregnant women, the halting of the recruitment of senior management during the Section 189 retrenchments, and a pay increase that has been on the cards since June this year. The Bakubung Mine Management says it will halt the recruitment process and is committed to resolve the issues raised through consultation with the labor unions from Monday. Ofentes Timo, SABC News, Liedig in Rustenburg.
And that's where I leave it for today. We're back next week. Have a wonderful afternoon further. Goodbye.